Welcome to the Now Show. We have Vince Campbell on with us today. He is a veteran. He has so much to share. This story is just part one, really. He will come on again sometime to talk about the brain and gut connection and what he's learned from trauma and connecting to the self. But today we're getting into his story, how he was stuffing emotions and how it was showing up in the body, and then started the journey to connecting to self, wellness, nature, getting treatment and healing, and how that had also led to the creativity of music, and how he's going to be sharing that gift of healing messages and love through his music, being a singer and songwriter, and eventually leading a veteran retreat.
I'll let you tell me and anyone that ends up listening to this just a little bit about you and who you are, what you do, and tell as much or as little as you want to, whatever you feel comfortable with.
Okay, just tell me when to stop. I was born in Calgary, Alberta, 1965. My dad was in the RCR, 30 years. So I grew up as an army brat. Anyway, my dad was in the military. We were in Alberta. We were on a trip down east of the Gas Bay, went home, and the house was empty. The doors were locked, and my mother had left. So at 3.5 years old, we went down to live with my grandparents in Quebec. I had 3 brothers at the time. So another brother and I went to live in Quebec. So we lived down there in the Gas Bay for 3.5 years. Then back to Calgary again. And then from Calgary down to CFB Gagetown for 8 years. And so I went to school and got to know everybody down there and made connections. And Dad got a final posting to Amherst, Nova Scotia. And we lived in Spring Hill. That's where I graduated from high school. And I joined the reserves, the 1st Nova Scotia Highlanders. I was with them for 7 years, and it was great. And my military experience, basically, we can go into detail there, but at that point I was in, I decided to get out. I've been basically in the military all my life with my dad, did our haircuts, did everything. So, you always worried about your dad coming home. He was off the war, if he was going to come home or not. So it was tough. So I wanted a little bit of freedom from the military. So I came to Ontario and had the freedom for all the different types of jobs. So I started with actually today is Costco, but it was Price Club years ago. We opened the first one. So I was a receiving manager there, and for 2 years, and had all kinds of opportunities. And I decided to move off into corrections because in Spring Hill is a penitentiary, and I wanted to get back to Spring Hill. So I got into provincial corrections, Metro East Detention Center, and basically that was where a lot of things really, went haywire. I was there for about 7 years. It was an environment that was probably not the best place for me to be in after being in the military, and being young and having a disconnect from my mother and that. So it was really stressful, and you had to really block a lot of things out. I could go into a lot of detail there, but otherwise after that, it got to a point where I was really sick working for corrections, developed fibromyalgia, multiple chemical sensitivity, and basically they offered me a buyout, and they offered me a job. But the job they offered me was to go back to a building that was mold infested. They had never, was tore down 2 years later after I left corrections. So when I left corrections, I went back to school for a year and got into networking, land administration, and got hired by Rogers. So of course, Rogers is a super high stress place, great place for me. I got suspended twice there. I had a really hard time. I was passionate about dealing with customers and getting the job done. And of course, in those environments, you have a lot of time, and I didn't always go by it. So there's a lot of friction. Things fell apart, and I had to take some time off there for sickness. So, and here I am today. I don't know if you have any other specific questions, but I can go on deeper in a lot of areas if you want to.
No, that was a great, just first intro to be here's where I came from as this little baby to like, here I am now. Like, I find that so important. I really love hearing people's stories like that. It reminds me of this kind of off topic, but like this Grey's Anatomy episode I watched once. And I remember they always do like this intro with Meredith Grey's voice at the beginning. And she was like, what has happened to you? And that's what the whole episode was about, was going back to realize like what has happened to you in your life and what have like you kind of also manifested that's happened, but really just going back instead of like, because I find like there's this weird balance of like living in the now, but also realizing like your present and the future are always running at the same time. Like there's like this misconception that living in the now means I just take this moment and then act like you just forget that there was any other timeline, but it's more about learning that that timeline is still playing because all there is now. So like embracing that past,
Right.
what happened to you, who are you, to like, here I am now, because that is still all me. It's all happening at the same time. So I love hearing people's stories, like from as far back as kind of you can remember what people have told you to what you know now.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, along the way, there's a lot of tragedies that build up to today where I am. And I'm the type of person, of course, my dad military, you don't show your emotions, you bury it. So yeah, down the road, it's going to come out sometime. I mean, I lost a nephew that was murdered in Spring Hill. And I only even cried. And he was murdered by a group of friends. And I had a goddaughter. She died at Sick Kids in Toronto, a very minor heart surgery, and they couldn't correct it, and she passed. And I went to the funeral, and you know, emotions were there, but you bury it. Other deaths and suicides and corrections, that probably really led up to you know, where things fell apart. Because I mean, I just got diagnosed just a couple of years ago with PTSD, but I've had it for 23 years, but nobody diagnosed it.
When did you first like become aware that you were kind of like hiding and pushing down your emotions? And when did you start maybe thinking that you might have had PTSD or getting help? So it's kind of like a two-way question there, but
I can answer that. I was working corrections, and Metro East Detention Center is probably one of the worst centers in Canada aside from the Don Jail. We're fortunate we had a lot of control there, but what bothered me a lot was a lot of the sexual predators. You'd be in a unit with 60 guys, rapists, murderers, and everything else along the line. You have all the records, you see them in the paper every day because they're coming in. And you have to deal with them and all their issues. And it was really hard to block that out. It took me the longest time. But when I did block it out, it blocked everything else out. You know, relationships at home, because you had a wall up, you couldn't let it down. It was really hard to. Because in a correctional institution, you had to run the show. If they saw that you're weak, you're done. And of course, at that time there was looking up to Paul Bernardo. I don't know if you're familiar with Paul Bernardo, but he was a serial killer and killed Kristen French and that in Toronto, and Leslie Mahaffey. But I dealt with a young fellow that was convicted of first-degree murder that was innocent. Only person I ever believed that was innocent in jail. Looked me in the eye and told me he was accused of killing his girlfriend that went to Toronto U of T. And he's the only guy I ever believed. And he got off 8 years later, but he did 8 years in the pen. And it destroyed the poor guy's life. He was such a great kid. So it was things like that that really added on to what I already, you know, was underlying. But I forgot to mention, back in the military, I had a friend who burnt to death in Camp de Burt. So that's when the military comes in, and I buried that too. And I can't even remember his name, but that was my military where I lost a friend, and that was hard. But anyways, corrections was icing on the cake when it comes to tragedy.
And so you notice kind of in your personal life, like that you were kind of shutting those emotions down, so you weren't really connecting.
What caused a divorce? I mean, I was with the same person
Mm-hmm.
for years. It contributed. It wasn't all one-sided, but you know, those are things that happen. Bless
Bless
you.
me.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Should always say bless you. I don't know what are you going to say bless you for?
I know. I always do it too. I'm like, I don't know. That's just what I was always told. Now it's just like ingrained. Like, I don't even know why I'm saying it, but I feel like that's the polite thing to do.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's good.
Yes.
But otherwise, where was I? I lose my train of thought sometimes. But anyways,
That's okay. You're saying that you had like divorce and stuff because you were pushing down those emotions from all those
right.
tragedies.
And I had a son with autism,
Mm-hmm.
mono, but you know, last 20 years invested in him. He's graduating this year from high school. Another son with a brain tumor. I was going to be a teacher at York University. He had to quit that. Had to get surgery to take it out about the size of a peanut, about that big, on his front eye, to take part of his brain out. But he's a chef today in Toronto. He overcame that, and he has an excellent job in one of the best restaurants in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
And work together and come through and overcome those things. But I tell you, it's not easy. And if you don't incorporate wellness into it and the proper help, I mean, I was full of drugs. I spent 6 weeks in a mental health ward in Markham Stouffville Hospital, secure ward, suicidal. I was on medication. They had me on Lyrica. They had me on Serazone. They had me on Seroquel.
Mm-hmm.
Everything you can imagine. I was for a number of years, and finally I decided it's time to get off. But it was kind of a need because you have to get your sleep in order. If you don't sleep is not in order, then you're done.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with that about sleep.
Anyways, I got out of there. I was in such bad shape I couldn't even walk down to Tim Hortons to get a coffee in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Everything just fell apart. So I kind of did the rebuilding thing. And along the way, I lost my brother and my father, both tragic car accidents. My brother was a veteran. I served with him, and I actually served with my dad down in Amherst before he got out. He taught some of the courses I was on, you know. But I lost
Mm-hmm.
and I thought, you know, what can I do to represent their life and you know, make them proud. My dad was in the military, my brother was. So this is where the idea for songwriting and wellness for veterans.
Mm-hmm. So before we get into that, because I want to ask you more questions about the songwriting, when you first started getting help for yourself, like what led you to go there? Like, were you just kind of like at your wit's end and you went to the doctor and they told you to go there? Or like, did the military send you for help? What was like your initial first steps towards even finding out like what wellness was or what PTSD is and like the other side of things?
That being when you're in denial, that's the thing. You're not open to any of that.
Mm-hmm.
Good wife, and she's super smart, super intuitive, very empathic.
Mm-hmm.
Knows what I'm thinking, so she's really in tune and tells me some things I don't want to hear sometimes, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Guys are guys who need to have that, and sometimes
Yes.
I don't know if Fabian's like that, but he sounds.
Yes.
Hey, you know what can you do?
It's all good.
Cognitive behavior therapy was a start, and
Okay, that's cool. And can you explain what that is for anyone that doesn't know?
it's to change your thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Ruminate about things. You think, you know, this person died, and you're going over and over in your head. You're not getting any closure on it. You're ruminating over again, or if you had a car accident or anything, you keep dwelling on it. To take your train of thought, change that direction to something good, so that it's not going to get you down and not going to get depressed. So take a
Mm-hmm.
time to turn to maybe music. Pick a guitar up, a puzzle, crossword puzzle, anything, exercise. Do that on a regular basis and it'll become automatic. It's really hard at first. That's one of the first things was ruminating, because I would do that. I mean, probably all my life. And
Mm-hmm.
and to be positive, do positive things, and you know, take a leadership role in things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing this now is something I would never ever have expected to do.
So how did you get into the singing and the songwriting? Did you always have like kind of a bit of a musical background, or is that something that developed?
I was in Halifax doing the Nova Scotia tattoo. You guys
Cool.
remember that? We were coming down from the ceilings and ropes and machetes and all kinds of good stuff, hand-to-hand combat. That was really good. I bought my first guitar down there and taught myself to play. Gordon Lightfoot, Edmund Fitzgerald. I didn't have a clue that I tune the guitar or play anything, and I just built on my own over the years. But because of hearing problems, I was in the rifle team in the military and shooting all summer, and I lost probably half my hearing. So everything was off balance. I didn't know that all through my life. So I just was a backyard guy. Things didn't always sound right. Then I got hearing aids about 5 years ago. Wow, I can hear birds chirp, I can hear leaves crack. And the music came in, and you keep working at it. And I just decided I want to do something for veterans, but I needed money for it. I said, if I can do an album of covers, which I started on, and bust or whatever, get a CD and sell it to raise money. That's what my plan was. I went to the studio to do it, and the studio didn't work. I didn't get along with, it just wasn't in the right place. So I stopped that recording in the studio, went back to work on my craft and started songwriting. So the first song I ever wrote was in December of 2018.
Okay.
December. Never wrote a song in my life. I tried it, but they were, just horrible. Anyways, the songs start coming through, and I've written about 50 songs this year. Not all complete, enough to do an album. And I've got to write some really neat songs. I didn't know Fabian's father was a coal miner, and that's incredible because coal miners are close to my heart. I wrote a song about my father-in-law that was a coal miner in Spring Hill. Recorded it, and it's contracted now to radio, TV. Hopefully it might get picked up for whatever. Maybe never, but it's a song I'm proud of, and I've been able to write a song for a pastor that had brain cancer. He was given 3 months to live. I thought, what can I do for this guy? He's from the Gas Bay, he's French. I met him once at our family reunion. I wrote a song for him and I sent it down. He was fortunate he was able to listen to it before he passed. But his wife sent me a letter, so he was smiling and he listened to it over and over again. And I recorded that properly, and it's called Sailing Down the Bay. And it tells a story about him as a pastor in Richmond, Quebec. And he loved to sail and just kind of sailing out the bay. And he passed up to about 3 months of brain cancer. 2 boys that are super musical, and his wife's super musical. So probably the best thing I've ever done in music.
Wow.
And it was very rewarding. But the lyrics, I don't know, that the lyrics just come through like, I'm writing a song, we're working on a project right now, and this is really cool, but it's for this, and the lyrics came through at 2 o'clock in the morning.
I love that.
I could have wrote the whole song, but I wrote 3 verses and a chorus. And I sent it to my friend, Reg Jury, who's a rocker out west. He's from Ontario, and we're working on a song to help promote our program. Reg is a super cool guy, a survivor big time. He died in a car crash and came back. And he's doing some really good things, and he's doing this for charity for us. It's, it's costing a few things, but we're going to have it mastered at Abbey Road Studio in London. I don't know.
Okay.
Cool song. And drums from Nashville, and mixed and produced in Nashville. We should have it in a month or so, I think. This will be pretty neat. That's a cool right. I'm not singing on or anything, but just doing the whole thing. So lots of things are coming together. I have someone that's going to do a concert for us. A song fundraiser. I don't know if you heard of Sinead O'Connor. Nothing Compares to You, the song. Well, he produced the record for her. Prince wrote the song, but he's a friend of mine. He wants to do a fundraiser, so this could end up being a pretty cool thing because he's connected all over the world. Chris Burkett, ordered with all kinds of people. So just things
So
that
are
come.
your songs available to listen to like on YouTube, or can you buy them somewhere? Like where could people listen to your songs?
They go to SoundCloud. I had a website. I canceled it because I wanted to join your program. I took the money to go join your program.
Thank you.
$4 a month. And I thought, well, this is more important. I don't need this right now because I'm the veterans thing. I can still work on my craft. So SoundCloud would be the best place. There's some on YouTube also. If you go to Facebook, the links are right there. Yeah, it's pretty well where you get the songs aside. I play a few online and on Instagram.
And how do you find finding this creative flow of connecting to music in the songwriting? How do you find that that has helped your wellness, your PTSD, and just for you as a person? Like, does that help you express those emotions that you have been hiding for so long, or does it just kind of put you in that different mindset that allows you to stay positive, like with the cognitive behavioral therapy? Maybe it's a little bit of everything. Kind of like, what's your way of expressing that?
Pretty well everything that you said. Ruminating takes away from that. But probably the biggest thing of all of this is I think most veterans that get out of the military, they don't have purpose.
Yes.
My brother did 2 tours in Afghanistan. He just got out of Trent. He was in the Air Force. He has PTSD. I work with him all the time. He struggles. But don't we all? But I'm glad I'm able to be here for him. But he started his own business. And that's his purpose. And he's consumed by it, but it gives him something to do. And I know I met a lot of guys that have gotten out and they don't know what to do. The military is a different world than civilian life. If you don't have something when you get out, and I think that's partly the responsibility of the military to make sure that the transition is done properly. You don't have suicide. You have things in place. You follow up, make sure that they're okay. Not just leave them alone. Call them. How are you making out? Can we do anything for you? Not wait for them to call. The other way around. And, so basically, I just lost my train of thought. Where was I?
We're just telling you on how your music can help guide you with those emotions that have been stuck, but also through the positive cognitive behavioral therapy. And then how when you do get released from the military, really anyone that feels or experiences PTSD, it kind of keeps you in that feeling of you don't have purpose.
Right.
So then having the music and the songwriting gives you purpose, or like coming back to that wellness mindset, it slowly guides you to your purpose.
That's right. This program big time, probably maybe even more than music, because the rewards are saving lives.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to the Canadian version of the singer-songwriter retreat, because we really love the one in Colorado. Like when we went to, we had no idea what to expect. And then just a couple of days, you're just like, wow, and like connecting with everyone and hearing everyone just being so vulnerable and sharing that story and getting it out and being like, no, it's always out here. I always have it I can listen to, or it's a different way of kind of expressing what is hard to express without, feeling like you're burdening someone by telling the whole story, or kind of having that different spin on things. So, yeah.
And we can't forget about the spouse also. I saw both of you are there, and that's great because my wife suffers tremendously from all of this.
Oh, for sure. Like I have a private group on Facebook if your wife or anyone wants to join. It's just called Support for Spouses and Caregivers to Those Living with PTSD. And yeah, and it's just like I have 400 and some members in there, and I know there's someone here in Oromocto. I just seen like one of those event invites in there that someone's organizing once a month, just getting women together, and she's trying to start the initiative of like getting other people in military towns, or it doesn't have to be military. Like we were talking, me and her, it can be anyone that's a spouse of someone with PTSD, and kind of also just like sharing that awareness, like there is such thing as secondary PTSD. There's also like how we have to adjust our lives, or how like we're learning to respond to things. How do we support the person? How do you support yourself? How do you support like your dreams, your purpose, everything. And it's a lot. It's almost like we need to create like a crash course someday.
For sure. I mean, that needs to be out there and available and promoted
Mm-hmm.
time because it's a need. I mean, I know around Ontario in the area, I don't hear too much about veterans. I don't know where they all are.
Mm-hmm.
I joined the Legion up here this year to try and help and do something because they helped me tremendously. And they're helping a lot with this program also, support-wise and that, ideas. And it's just nice to have that. I'm not going to answer that, but voted me as a service officer there, so I get to deal with all the veterans. I'm the only veteran there in our Legion, oddly enough.
Mm-hmm.
9333670.
There. And I'll close the door so you can't hear it.
Yeah, that's okay.
I told everybody who's on this, so don't call me, but probably. I went to this morning for pneumonia, so it could be that.
And yeah, like coming back to like the Legion stuff, I do find that there kind of was like the first wave of maybe like serving members that went to the Legion, and now there's like this second, third wave of men and women that like aren't seeking to go there for connection, and they are looking for something else. So it's almost like the Legions need like a revamp of like their offerings.
100%. And
Yeah, and like what we really can do there.
it's going to happen if I can have any say in it.
Mm-hmm.
Old school people, older ones in there, they work so hard and they're incredible. And like you said, the younger ones aren't there. So how do you get them in? I know Saskatchewan is trying to promote to get the first responders as Legion members, which would be great, but you still have to get them in there. And there's, it's not just old people sitting around drinking anymore. There's
Yes.
Our Legion is busy all the time. There's karaoke, there's all kinds of good things which are great for people to get involved that are ex-military, and you don't have to sit there and drink. In fact, you can volunteer and help because they need the help.
Yes.
We're going to do a beef dinner. I delivered 250 poppy boxes this fall. First time I ever did that, I ran across people that didn't know what a poppy was, didn't know what a poppy box was.
Mm-hmm.
And that should not happen in Canada, but it's up to us to educate them, promote them, and poppy should be free. Not as many people are wearing poppies because, they don't have cash in the hand anymore. So
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to just take a poppy and not put a coin in. So they don't have. So you got to make sure people will have a poppy, whatever way they can get, wear it, at Remembrance Day at least. But the younger ones in for sure is important. Take it to the house and somewhere to do something.
And coming back to like the wellness, what are some other things that you do in your life now to keep you in the right mindset, or just feeling like you're also supporting yourself or having people around you supporting you? Like, what are some other things besides the music maybe that you've learned that you implement, and what's like a way that you communicate what you need when you need that extra support?
Right. I'm kind of on my own in that area. I do see a psychologist every month. I do see him twice a month. Very helpful, but most is what you do on your own. Mindfulness, I walk my dog every day. I live in an old farm, it's 100 acres, there's a pond and everything here. So I connect with nature as close as I can.
Perfect.
Or in the bush as I possibly could have, but it's not healthy. Animals. I have a cat that last night I didn't get sleep till 2 o'clock in the morning. She came and laid in my legs and I fell asleep.
Aww.
Of course, prednisone will keep you awake, but that's neat. I have a dog that's high energy that keeps pushing me to get out there, to fetch and do all those things. Incredible therapy. He's high energy. If you're just an old dog that laid in the corner, of course I wouldn't get any walks, but he tells me he wants to walk. He's like a right-hand man. Animals and a supportive family that lets you know when you're not right.
That's so great.
Right? And my wife lets me know when I'm not right. And my son's pretty on the ball too, so I'm fortunate in that area. I have to keep working at it. Joining your group and your program, I'm challenged with relaxing to listen, to do the yoga.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. I was so medicated in the hospital, I could do that stuff no problem. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I was drooling on
Yeah, a different kind of relax.
I have to be honest, it's true. You're in rough.
Mm-hmm. It is true.
It is, you know, and but I have to work on it. Yeah, I put
Mm-hmm.
too much effort into since January. I have to step back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Really tired. I get tired quite easy, but fortunately I can do a lot at home, so I be careful with that. And
Mm-hmm.
started performing in public a little bit, which is terrible anxiety. It's probably the worst thing. I understand what those artists go through when they're on stage.
Yes.
I met a ton of them this summer and I got to talk to a lot of them and got all their ins and outs and everything. I got a cool paddle here. So. Tom Wilson painted this for me. I don't know if you're Tom Wilson, but
Oh, wow.
Tom just played in Nashville on the Grand Ole Opry last week. This friend of mine, he's in Hamilton. He has all kinds of different names, but he's been around forever. He's played with a lot of different country bands and you name it, knows everyone. But he's interested in this group. His father was a rear gunner in a Lancaster and was blinded by shrapnel. And he grew up, going to the Legion and all these things. So anyways, I just thought I'd show that's pretty cool, all hand painted.
That's really cool.
That's a treasure.
Do you have any final words of wisdom or anything else that you would like to share?
Final words of wisdom. If you're not right, get help. Don't be in denial of PTSD. I've run across.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't believe that. They're too tough. They're the ones suffering because I can see it in their eyes and their behavior. Very,
Mm-hmm.
And to get the help out there for people. My job is awareness and to try to make connections so when this program comes together, people know what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
A pot that's boiling with a lid on that you want to let it all out, but we can't right yet.
Yeah.
What I mean? People are asking for volunteering. I get people, masters in music and all these connections want to help out. And it's like, God, what do I tell them? I just thank and say that I'll put you on this. I appreciate your offer to help. When things come together, your name's there, and we may draw on you. But to work hard and have purpose. Purpose is a key.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for your time and for everything. And I look forward to when we meet in the real world.